welcome to the Six Figure Coach podcast.
Woohoo! Thank you.
We just had a chance to connect before we began recording, and I really look forward to helping us both feel really clear about a way for you to merge a traditional coaching discovery process with the work that you're doing with your psychic readings and helping you just feel rock solid about that. So that's my intention for our call.
Awesome. I'm excited to dive in.
Before we dive in, how's it going for you right now? I know you're in the Six Figure Coach Club. How are
Mhm.
things?
I am consistently having aha moments, which is so sweet. I feel like I'm constantly going through and going like, wow, I can really improve this. Wow, I can make this better. Wow, here's something like almost every single time, whether it's, going through on my own doing the courses or whether it's a Q&A, and even the people in the group,
Right.
it's so helpful because some people are a lot farther ahead or evolving in different ways. And so I'm just getting more ideas. I'm like, wow, there's that. So I just feel like it's kind of a treasure trove. And it's just like, I'm going to need to hire like 3 VAs with all the ideas that are starting to come through. I'm like, I can't do this by myself anymore. There's no way. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's funny. We had a team meeting yesterday and today, 2 full days. And that was one of the issues that we brought up was what can we create for members to capture ideas without feeling pressure to implement everything right away? Because you're
Mm,
right, there are so many great ideas. And
mhm,
I know for me, sometimes I get nervous about, I put false pressure on myself to implement them right away because I don't necessarily have a formalized, I don't have a jar to put my ideas in. So that's
mhm,
something we're going to work on in Q2 is what are we going to create for them so that everyone
mhm.
feels on track instead of only creatively inspired, because that's great, but I also want everyone moving the needle. So that's interesting you brought that up because we talked about
Right.
it.
Oh, that's funny. Nice.
Well, let's dive in, shall we? I'd love to hear from you what you want to walk away with from our time together today.
Mhm. So I think walking away, um, yeah, if I could look back and be like, wow, that was awesome. I really got this out of it. I think there's something for me, especially the work that I do, is not something that is a exact formulaic process because it's a lot with, more of, I call it the woo woo,
Mhm.
more intuitive energy, all of that stuff. And so getting a clear process about how to do this really deep kind of spiritual work with people, and also having a little bit more process and a little bit more organization for how to do this work with people and how to allow them to step into doing more work together and getting clear on how to do that in terms of, um, how do I say this? It's like helping people get the greater help that they're looking for versus just doing one session, which a lot of my work people are only coming for one session. So it's me getting a process down of how to offer things and how to really meet people in that. Cause I think people are looking for more help, but they need the invitation. And I'm not creating a big enough invitation and a process around that in myself, basically.
That's really clear. Okay,
Mhm.
let's fill everyone in on your business. Can you paint the picture of who you serve, how you help them, and what the structure of that looks like right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I help a lot of empathic, sensitive, more of your spiritual seekers really find empowerment in a lot of their sensitivities in order to gain sort of confidence and awareness around the intuitive sort of psychic gifts. So I have a lot of folks coming in that when I'm helping do psychic and intuitive work, some people are coming in and saying, I really want to understand this. And so I'm kind of doing these soul readings and looking at people's purpose and their meaning. And sometimes it's more specific questions and sometimes it's bigger. And then my coaching work is helping more sensitive people that are wanting to really transform their life and also learn energy tools around how to do that, essentially.
Great. Okay, so
Mhm.
I'm going to repeat back what I heard.
Okay.
So there's one, the piece where people are coming to you for
Mhm.
just one session.
Mhm.
That takes more of a shape of a psychic reading or a
Exactly.
spiritual, okay, reading.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then you also have a coaching practice to help empathic, intuitive people deepen or cultivate those skills.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in so doing, form a different relationship to those
Mhm.
qualities that our culture often labels as weird or or
Woo woo.
backwards or right. Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
And so right now, what I'm hearing you say is people are showing up for psychic readings. Are you comfortable if I just call them psychic readings for now?
Oh,
I
yeah.
get that there's more to
Absolutely.
it, but okay. So people are coming for this reading because they're seeking more meaning and transformation, and
Mhm.
they could get that through coaching, but you don't have a structured or a routine around how to move people from investing in one-off reading and into investing into a longer transformation or
Mhm.
ongoing work. Okay,
Mhm. Yep.
great.
Yep.
All right. So what, if any, thought have you given? If we were just brainstorming here, I'd love to hear
Mhm.
from the part of you that's noodled around with this a little bit, just to hear where you're coming from or what ideas you've had, and then we can dig deeper.
Yeah. I think, it's so funny. I have people that repeat or come in, and it's just because things change in their life, right? And so there was something in my system when I started doing psychic readings. And I think this is a wrong assumption a lot of people make, is that if you do a really good job, people are just going to come back without like a bigger invitation. So people do sort of come back. But I was like, oh, if I do a really good reading or I teach an energy tool or whatever happens during the session, they're going to want more and they're going to step into that. And what I'm realizing as a business owner is that that's actually really sensitive, deep work. And that people need to have kind of like a hand to be like, hey, I'm here for you. I can help you. And to really give that. And so it comes from a really sweet place because my mother, this was the way that I actually started developing my abilities. And I called her and I said, how did we get into this? Who invited us to do this? And she said, someone just looked at us after reading and said, I can help her, and pointed to me and like kind of put that out there. And I didn't remember that. And so a lot of my noodling has been like, how did I get invited into this? Right.
Right.
And like who actually kind of came in for me. And so a lot of it has been trying to figure out how to break up sessions or
Mhm.
how to really offer those things to people if they fit the people that I work with. Because not everyone that comes in for a reading fits that, right, coaching client. But I get a lot of really sensitive healers, a lot of
Mhm.
helpers that
Mhm.
come in and they're like, I need to transform my space. I need to learn energy tools. I want to learn this stuff myself.
Great. So
So,
do you have, and please don't tell us their name, we'll call this
mhm.
person Betty, but do
Okay.
you have a coaching client who has like moved into that space with
Mhm.
you? Great.
Mhm.
How
I
did it
do.
happen?
I mean, it was a little bit by accident. I do these like spiritual convention sort of things. I
Okay.
don't there's like hundreds of people and vendors and things. And I was just doing a one-off sort of psychic reading, gathering emails. And then the email, then we're like, do you have programs? And I was like,
I
no.
do now.
I was like, oh my God, should I? And then I was like, I probably should, because my background's a psychotherapist. And so people sign up, they don't sign up for programs, right? They just sign up for the long haul. You don't have to invite people really.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it didn't occur to me to have something where there's like a monthly or a start or an end or something.
Yes.
So yeah, I work with a bunch of people that have kind of trickled in that way, and
Mhm.
a few people that just asked for more, but they've been all these like kind of sweet accidents where people want to just keep going. And so I've been like, oh my God, I need to come up with something. Oh my God, how many months, and then trying to learn from the coach club. Do I do month to month? Do I do, a certain amount of time frame depending on what I'm teaching? And then what am I going to teach? So yeah,
Right.
there've been accidents, sweet
Yeah.
accidents.
You're making people work way too hard. Right? They're like, please, please
Oh my God.
let me work with you. Okay. So I
Yeah.
feel like there are two things for us to cover today, and I want to make sure we're on the same page. And
Okay.
I want us to decide what to focus on first.
Okay.
What I'm sensing here is one question is with the enrollment process from
Mhm.
psychic reading into ongoing work, what
Mhm.
does that process or routine look like?
Yeah.
And then the other is the invitation. What are you actually enrolling them into? Are you?
Right.
I can't tell if you're clear or not on that second piece.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the second piece in terms of that, I do have now, because of the accidents,
Okay.
different coaching programs. And a lot of them are, some people I have that are biweekly, and it's really attuned to what they're trying to learn. Like in the call, we have like, okay, what are you going to learn? And then I have 3 different packages basically that I have that are like, you learn this amount of energy tools in this many months. You learn it in this month. And then there's more apprenticeships for people that actually want to learn how to take the skills and do their own kind of psychic work rather than just energy,
On
intuitive work. They can actually do readings back. So I am pretty clear on that part
Great.
now.
Okay.
I will
Great.
say like 80 to
Okay.
85, I
I
think.
think we're all 80 to 85. Right. Well, it's so true because I learn something new maybe every third day. Right? Always learning new things, and so I'm always bringing that into how I parent, into how I
Mhm.
partner, into how I run my business. So even the most and set in stone offering like the Six Figure Coach Club with the modules and the worksheets and the videos, that is
Mhm.
also always evolving. So 80 to
Mhm.
85% to me is golden. Let's then look at the enrollment process.
Okay. Okay.
So I come to you through referral or
Mhm.
through whatever other marketing mechanisms you have in place. And
Mhm.
your initial offer is a paid psychic reading. Is that
Mhm.
accurate?
Mhm.
Great.
Mhm.
Now, what we teach inside of the Six Figure Coach Club is an initial offering of a free discovery session, but I just don't know if that applies to you.
I mean, that's the part I've been trying to work with in a way,
Mhm.
because it's true. A lot of people are coming in and sort of paying for it, and then I'm like, okay, do I offer them like, hey, here's these options. Let's do a follow-up call so I can don't take any more of this time, but we schedule another like kind of like shorter discovery call because we've already dove in so much that I don't. Is dove in a word? I think I just
I don't think so, but I like it.
I don't know if there's, but yeah, there feels like maybe a hybrid there, but yeah, trying to do a discovery call. Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts around how
Yeah.
to weave that. I don't know.
Yeah. There could be two potential paths.
Okay.
One would be you have paid psychic readings.
Mhm.
You said to me that there are people who show up to the psychic readings who what they're seeking and what they need is a paid reading and you've served them and they may or may not come back, but that's really the
Mhm.
shape of the relationship. There
Yep.
are also others who want to deepen the work and you don't and it's been unclear to you about like how do I now offer another thing?
Mhm.
So I think one, we'll call it a funnel, Xandra, would be from your paid readings.
Mhm.
Maybe even, do you do any sort of intake form before your paid readings? You
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
So, what if you just had a question on your intake form, which was like a box that they check or a yes or no? Like, would you like, are you interested in
Mhm.
whatever? And I'd love to hear your language for like work like an ongoing relationship to deepen these skills or are you
Mhm.
interested in learning more about that and maybe the options are like yes that sounds interesting or no I really just want a reading.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely based off of the six-figure coach club I won and I changed my
Uh-huh.
intake form. I was just doing that 2 days ago actually. So, yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, "Should I have more in here or how do I?" So, yeah, there definitely is an option with the website to be able to do a checkbox and say like, "Are you interested in gaining more awareness about intuitive energy tools, grounding your space, mindfulness practice, all of that." I mean, there's a ton inside this stuff that I teach, so probably more simple language, but
Mhm.
yes, something around, "Are you interested in this? Happy to take a few minutes to talk to you about it if you are." Like,
Yeah, or even because I don't want to plant a seed of wait, I'm trying to get a psychic reading. I don't want to be sold into something else. I want this time for my reading. So the
yeah.
yes box would be like, yes, that's interesting. I'd like to talk about it at some point after the reading, just to make
Okay.
it clear to them that what the thing they're paying for is the reading and they're going to get that. And
Right.
then my
Okay.
vision was at the end of the reading, there will be some people who have already indicated, right, that they are candidates for ongoing work. There will
Mhm.
be other people where you intuit that they should also be invited.
Mhm. Mhm.
And perhaps what you do at the end of the reading is schedule then a more
Mhm.
like an info call
Mhm.
or a
Mhm.
chemistry call or whatever you want to call it. You don't have to call it anything.
Mhm.
Um, to talk more about the structure of what ongoing looks like to find out if they're a fit.
Yeah. Yeah. My mind jumps off of what you said too. And I'm like, okay, and then what do I need to put in my automation email that sends the thank you out? Like two different automation emails, one that's just a thank you, and then another one that could have something if they're interested in it. Is that too much?
Well, I wonder if we just slow it down for people. I wonder. We want to also, it's so interesting when we start to think about online marketing and funnels and automations, we can make it harder for people to hire us. Like
Okay.
we
Okay.
think so much about like checking this box then triggers this action, and like what about the people who are just thinking, "Hi, I'd like to hire you, and how do I do that? Please don't make me go and watch your webinar or opt into your thing. I would like to just sign up," right? But let's just stick with like one step at a time.
Okay.
So we have the first funnel,
Mhm.
psychic readings. On the form, they indicate that yes, they're interested in more. Maybe the thank you email is P.S. If you indicated that you're interested in ongoing work, don't worry. At the end of our reading, we will schedule a time to talk more deeply about that.
Okay.
Does
Okay.
that all align for you so far?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And so then you can be in the space of delivering a psychic reading. They can be in
Mhm.
the space of receiving that. And then at the end, you can schedule another discovery session.
Mhm. Mhm.
Great.
Mhm.
So, what about this funnel for the people who are more interested in the ongoing work? The psychic
Mhm.
reading is great and fun, and they're open to it, but really they already know they want this ongoing
Mhm.
relationship.
Mhm.
So, do we just bring them directly into a discovery session? Does it make sense for you to have everyone come through the paid reading because it's such a valuable aspect of your process? What do you think?
Well, I have some clients that have come just from the paid route, right? Where they just do a psychic reading and they're like, wow, I want to take this further. And then I have referrals just from people I work with
Mhm.
that are just like, they just talk about how great they're doing. And someone's like, who's helping you do that? And then they end up coming through. And those are the people lately where I've just had discovery calls rather because they're already like, I want what this person has. And so they skip the reading. So I do have people that are kind of coming that way. And the discovery call piece is what I've been using and kind of adjusting a little bit to it because the coaching part is kind of doing a mini psychic reading in a way to look at their space, to kind of look at their purpose, teach them
Yep.
an energy tool kind of
Hmm.
thing. And that seems to work really well. So that part is where people skip it, where they, it's already someone they trust that's getting the work and loving it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. So, how do we present that offer public facing? How do we make it easy for those people to get on the track they want to be on?
Mm-hmm. How do I make it easy? I mean, do you need to do a whole discovery call if people are already in?
We have to start some way, right?
Right.
So, one thing I love about uh, the process, the client search process, and how I teach discovery sessions
Mm-hmm.
is it's a perfect first session for the people who want to keep going because we have that coaching piece built into it.
Right. Okay.
Um, so it so I don't see it getting in the I don't see it creating extra work or hoops to jump through for those people who already know they're in because this is
Mm.
how you start the relationship.
Okay.
How does
Okay.
that land for you though?
I think that's fine. In my mind, I'm like, is it because like a couple of them that I've done, people are already in. So they're just like, I'm like, yeah, I really do this. And they're like, yep. And I'm like, this is how much. And they're like, yep, I already know how much you charge. I already know how much this is. I already talked to someone. Like, when do we get started? So I've had a couple of that where they're into the kind of the first part, but some of my like trying to explain things, people are like, nope, like I'm good. So I think maybe it's just me reading the field a little bit. And again, discovery calls are a little new as a,
Mhm.
again, background as psychotherapist, you do like 20-minute consult calls,
Yeah.
but you're not necessarily doing coaching on
Yeah.
them has been my experience of them. So yeah, it feels like intuiting a little bit depending on the way that the person's coming in and figuring out like, do I need to give this information to them or is it not, right? I just feel like for some people are going to need more and some people if they already know someone, it's not as necessary, but I get your like obviously I do want to know their goals. I want to know what's gotten in the way. I want to know what their willingness to change and do work is. And I
Mhm.
want to be able to like teach them something and see like does this really work for you? Because it might work for this person that you love, but maybe that's not your style too. So,
Yep. Great.
yeah.
I wonder if it's just a simple buy-in. So I'm thinking about the client search process for discovery sessions.
Mhm.
And so we're breaking the I right, we're assuming the yes and we're setting those intentions and then we move into coaching. And I wonder if before you move into coaching, you choose your own adventure, right? It's a version of a question of like, I want to make, before we decide to move forward, whether
Mhm.
you already know you want to or not, we'll do a little bit of work to make sure that it's an energetic fit.
Mhm.
And before we do that, I'd just love to know how much about the way I work, like what questions do you have about what it looks
Mhm.
like to work with me in an ongoing way? So maybe you actually flip the order and the
Hmm.
invitation comes before the coaching.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay.
You would have to test that because you're inviting people into something that they haven't necessarily experienced. But it just seems like instead of just trying to intuit, right, or stick to the rigid routine, it seems like
Mhm.
you could get a buy in from them about like how much do you need to know or how. I know you were referred by my favorite client. So, how much do you need to know in order to make a decision?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
I've shared a lot. I'd love for you to take that in and let's let's let you process that a bit and think about what shape that might take for your discovery sessions.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I'm trying to imagine flipping it at the moment, like some of the last calls that I've had where people are already aware of a lot of the like pieces. They've already looked at the website, they know people, they're kind of in to kind of instead of coming in and say like, what are your goals? What are this saying? Like, yes, this is well, I guess sometimes people don't always know. A lot of times people are a yes, but the programs are different in terms of the amount of support, right? Some are more biweekly, some are weekly. And so I haven't had anyone come in yet and say, I want this program. They just say, I want to work with you, but they
Mhm.
haven't decided which one. And so for me, a lot of the time it's explaining like, if we're going to meet biweekly, you have to have a lot of fire, a lot of heart fire to do this on your own and work with energy because a lot of stuff comes up and you're going to not have as much support versus a weekly for a longer period of time. So a lot of times when people are a yes, it's been just checking in on how ready are you and what's your experience level with this because a bi-weekly is not going to shift things unless you've done a lot of your own work or you know how to integrate these things.
Right.
So I mean perhaps like getting clear on again knowing someone's goals is part of that, right, and what they want to learn, but kind of making the offer. I'm trying to imagine flipping it and still asking what their goals are at the
Yeah.
same time first off so that I know how to really shift to what kind of program or what outlet maybe is
Mhm.
going to be best for them. Um,
I have an idea here. So
yeah.
I know with the Six Figure Coach Club, and you may even recall this. So people book a sales
Hmm.
call with Emily, and I think it's the first confirmation email. 99% sure it is, but we say like this is the commitment, this is the price. There's no funny business here. We want you to know this information. That way
Hmm.
people that we're just not playing games, right? So I wonder if when people book on this track where they
Yeah.
already know they want to work with you, I
Yeah.
wonder if their confirmation email includes either a link to a page on your site or just an info sheet about like the two ways to work with you.
Okay.
And the invitation for them is to review it and come with questions. And I often like to frame that by saying, we're not really going to know if this is a fit until we meet. But I want to help you have all the information you need in order to make an informed decision so that when we meet and do a little bit of coaching, we'll both feel great about how you decide to move forward. So they could then just have a lot of that. So then everyone shows up with the information. So instead of having to walk them through, here's option A and here's option B, when it comes to the invitation, which would now go back to the end of the discovery session, it's just, what questions do you have?
Right. Okay.
Or now that we've talked about your goals and you've learned this tool and we've done a little bit of coaching, let's talk about the best way for us to move forward with this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it sounds like rather than spending more time and breaking things down, it's like you're saying, offering that information already of like, these are the options that are available. Happy to really discuss, what is going to fit best for you, what type of support, where you think you fit kind of in there, so that it's more processing that person's space rather than processing the programs with them.
Yeah. Giving them space to really absorb and understand the programs. So, because what I'm picking up here is the people who say to you, yep, I already know the price. Yep, I'm in. They say they're in, but you haven't told them what the programs are. So you still I would feel the pressure to explain all of the pieces, whether they want to hear it or not. So we could take that piece out, and that might help the discovery session feel more connected, rather than now we enter the part of this conversation where I spew a lot of information at you that you may or may not feel you need to hear.
Fair. That's happened a couple times. I'm like, and I don't know. I'm like, I guess I would want to know this, but maybe they are already okay with it. It's amazing how when you know someone who's doing really well with something, how other people are like, that's fine. I want whatever they have. Like, I don't need to know the specifics. Like, let's just do it.
Yeah. It's so true, right? Like, I don't care how long the sessions are. I really don't care. Yeah. Okay. So tell me where you're at. I'd love to hear from you. Let me back it up for our listeners. So now, Xandra, we've got essentially two entry points. One is people who come to you for a paid psychic reading. We're going to add that checkbox where they just to help them, just to plant the seed for them that there is an opportunity to do this further, and to relieve any pressure on you to try to squeeze a discovery session weirdly also into a psychic reading. Those can now be two separate things.
Right. Okay.
Then we have the other. So some people start there and then they move into the discovery session funnel for ongoing work. Other people will skip the reading and just come to the ongoing work funnel. What is your understanding of how that process unfolds?
So in terms of the second funnel, for people that are just skipping and coming in, it is, so when people are booking a discovery session, I call it discovery session on my website, then the email, the automated one that goes out that's like, thank you, this is when your appointment is, blah, 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 has information already on there around, these are the programs that are available. This is like what you learn. This is pricing. This is X, Y, and Z. We'll spend some time discussing what feels the most aligned for you in terms of budget, in terms of time, how fast you want, all of this to work, that kind of stuff, so that they are already aware when it's coming. Basically, they can bring questions versus me spending 15 minutes explaining the difference between biweekly versus weekly, which maybe they have questions around that, but at least it's out there. So it's less of, I feel like the less of me talking, the better, maybe at someone in some way. So that's sort of what I'm getting process wise. And then spending more time integrating some of the same pieces that are in like kind of the discovery call kind of template piece, where you're like doing a lot around what are your goals? What are the reasons, that have gotten in the way? Like, I think that can come up organically. especially when I'm helping people find programs, the ones that have the least touch or the least support, I want to know why they feel ready for that.
Right.
Right. Or like, what have you done that really allows you to feel like you don't need that amount of support? Because I've taken people on that feel like they actually need more support and they don't. And then it's like kind of a bummer for both of us because they don't have what they need. And then I'm not going to overextend,
Hmm.
right? There's that pressure to make sure they're okay, but they didn't want that extra support, even
Yeah.
though they actually needed it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I how clear do you feel
Hmm.
now about this enrollment process?
I feel really good. I'm just kind of like going through my mind and just imagining it. I'm a pretty visual person. So I'm like trying to
Hmm.
picture like do
Hmm.
all of that in there. I think that feels really good. Um, it's so funny. I think there's something around almost everything that I've done when you're in like a coaching or even like a psychotherapy, like no one tells you their prices before you like talk to them.
No.
You know what I mean? There's a
Uh-huh.
process of like, you're not supposed to tell how much things cost before you like kind of give something to someone. And so there was a little piece in my mind around like, okay, if someone, is it okay to send someone a pricing sheet? I guess if they already know, most of the people that are coming into me already know price wise, like they've already been told
Hmm.
um, necessarily. But yeah, that was the one thing that came up in my mind is I was like, wow, but I do appreciate when people are transparent kind of
Okay,
off the bat too.
let's unpack that a little bit and make sure it aligns with your values.
Okay.
Because I'm just going to step on a soapbox here for a second. There is so much bullshit out there in the internet marketing world, like strategies that
Mm.
convert that aren't aligned with my values. And then we
Mm.
all sort of end up unconsciously applying these strategies because that's the way you're supposed to do it. And
Mm.
no one has, whether anyone ever knew, but none of us really know why we're doing these strategies. And then they also, if they're not aligned with your values, are never going to work. And I could do a whole episode about this. But so let's unpack it a little bit. For
Okay.
you, what is the purpose or utility or benefit of not sharing your prices before people are in an experience with you?
What is the benefit? I mean, as most of the time, as a preference, I prefer when people are paying for things, right? That they're just paying up front. But
Mhm.
there is something in me that's like, if someone really isn't able to afford, like if they need a payment plan and things like that, there's an option for those things. But the goal is that I don't really want to deal with that
Right.
necessarily, right? I just want that to be a little bit easier because if I have to remember 20 different payment plans, right, that's just like kind of a mess. So there's a thing for me sometimes of like, if I want it to be workable for people, right? So it's like if sometimes if you put this is how much it costs out there, some people that may be able to make it work, right? If they have some sort of payment or,
Mhm.
there's some sort of option there. If there's like a sliding scale, it's
Mhm.
like there's a couple times I'll take on people that it's like, well, I can do this. And I'm like, okay, let's make this work in your budget. This is what I'm willing to do. Maybe we do a 45 versus an out, like that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Um, so there's something for me of like when you put your price out there, does it turn people away that might be able to make it work if there was a level of wiggle room, right? Or like flexibility for them. And I don't know if that means just putting like an asterisk and saying like, please inquire still if there, I don't know. But
Okay.
that's maybe the fear that comes up in me.
Right. Yeah. What I'm hearing you say too is by listing the price, it almost puts people in a different part of their brain where they're
Hmm.
deciding based on the price rather than based on the value.
Fair. Yeah.
And I think that is often for people the argument for not having your prices out there.
Hmm. Okay.
So, what is the benefit then of sharing your price, not necessarily on your website, but as part of how you help people? I feel like I'm coming in really loaded with this question, trying to convince you. So, I'm just aware of that. And if you have your own agency and can decide, but I feel myself really trying to make a case here. But as part of how people prepare to make a decision about hiring you,
Hmm.
um, inserting the price as part of the info sheet they get when they've already booked a call with you. What would be the benefit of that?
Well, the obvious part of me is it like people that aren't interested at all, right? That are just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a no. Then I don't actually waste my time trying to connect with someone that's just a no right off the bat.
Mhm.
Um, it's true. It I'm trying to think what else by putting the pricing sheet out there. It allows the discovery calls to be a little bit more process based versus like factual, like brain based,
Mhm.
right? So it's like we can actually, if you already know, we can dive in more to like what they're wanting or more around the money. Cause like occasionally people will come in and be like, wow, I really would love to do this and I can't. And then we go, okay, like now we actually have more time to process through that. Um, I feel like I should have like a golden egg answer. And my brain's like crickets a
No,
little
no,
bit.
you're just processing. It's great. For me, it just can feel, and even for those of us who are woo woo, right? And heart centered, the game of hiding the prices can turn into a game for people,
Yeah.
which for me takes me out of my heart when I'm in discovery sessions. Because it's like, okay,
Mhm.
now for the big reveal where I'm going to tell you the price. So, what we have found with the Six Figure Coach Club is it's interesting how often we will get feedback from people
Hmm.
saying that they appreciate our transparency around the pricing.
Hmm.
And we don't really share it. And like there's a quick, super quick, you got to really pay attention slide in the webinar that says the price quickly, but it is in the confirmation sequence.
Hmm.
Um, how would you feel about testing this? So maybe out of your next, you can decide on the numbers, but the next 10 people who come in, five of them get the info sheet with the price, five of them get it without, and just see
Oh.
if at all that impacts the experience for them and for you. What data comes forward when you test that piece?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do like that, the compare and contrast, because it's true. Otherwise, you kind of overthink the back and forth because I feel like depending on someone's business, sometimes either way could be helpful. I like the transparency piece. I think part of me likes just sort of putting that out there. And on my website, my per one session coaching stuff says the price on there. So if someone really was good at math, they could be like, okay, this times, 4 times 3, they could probably figure it out too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I always forget like you're driven by data piece. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just testing it out a little
Test
bit
it
and
and
doing.
see. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm going to guess that you won't necessarily have solid numbers to say, oh, right, when I share the price, 50% of people cancel, right? And the 50% of people who would have canceled actually end up hiring me or whatever that is. But the work you do is all about intuition and energy. So I want you to test this to see what energy it puts you in and the
Hmm.
and the clients in, and let that inform whether or not you
Hmm.
when and how you share the pricing.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And you're also bringing up something, and this is something I see just in more of the folks that are doing spiritual energy woo woo kind of stuff. There's this big, huge thing in the spiritual community that you're like, when you're helping people with spiritual based issues, you shouldn't be charging for it. There's a huge, huge thing around like spirituality, helping all of that shouldn't cost people money. And so as we're talking about it, I'm feeling that edge come up too. Like I've worked a lot on money pictures and like I've paid a lot like too, but for some reason that still lives hard. I think in people when you're helping with spiritual issues, that it should be this sort of free piece. I'm just watching myself kind of look at that layer of it too while you're talking, because that's, I think, in there a little bit as well.
Part of that is present for you. So by sharing so if that part of you could speak, how would it finish this sentence? If I share my prices up front, then
Um, if that part could speak, if I share my prices up front, then I'm trying, it's something along the lines of like people will walk away because there's a money hungry quality to it, or like a not even like a trying to take advantage of someone piece. something like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something along those lines.
Yes, I can hear that.
So yeah, there's sort of a split, and there's something that I see when a lot of spiritual teachers, healers, mentors, all of that kind of stuff, and it seems like there's a ravine sometimes. There's like this people that are not really charging sort of what they're worth and what their training is, and just kind of doing trades and giving things to people for free. And then there's people that have this momentous, really large fee that people are like, I don't see that's realistic for the spiritual work that you're offering, or this kind of like making fun of, right? This like kind of spiritual materialism kind
Mm-hmm.
of piece on one side. And so I feel like I'm trying to walk the middle way.
Mm-hmm.
Like somehow ended up like charging what I feel I've put into my work and how I help people and how I help them transform their lives, but not in this way where and I don't know, it's never occurred to me to take advantage of someone spiritually, right? Like in a money way, but there's such a belief around that it's like, it feels like I have to like, I don't know. And maybe that's just mine. Maybe it's not as big as I think it is, but
Mm-hmm.
I've had some clients say like spirituality, like when people charge for it, that's just, X, Y, and Z. So I hear that sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's a line a little bit, I think, in me of trying to be the middle way, I
Mm.
think.
Tell me if this resonates.
Yeah.
What's coming up for me as I hear you share is not that you question whether or not you should charge or even that you question how much you charge. It's this like getting caught component of having the prices out there to be seen and then to be judged versus sharing them in this container of a discovery session. Is any of that landing for you?
Yeah. I'm trying to take in the like getting caught. It's like this, I don't know. Yeah, like this bad. I mean, like if I had all the money in the world, I would just offer everything for free. Like that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, there's something, I don't know, there might be a belief in me that wants to be able to do that, wants to be able to help people transform and heal and do all of this really tangible, spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of somatic energy work. And so there might just be something, a blockage in me that like wishes that could be possible. And so I don't know what hurdle that is for me in
Mm-hmm.
there, maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I have an invitation if you would like to accept it, which would
Mm,
be think about what your impact initiative inside of your business looks like.
mm,
So there's this rub, right? If I could, I would charge nothing for this work. And then reality tells me I must charge for the work that I do in order to live on planet Earth.
fair.
And
Yeah.
then there's this other position, which is like if money is energy and what you are teaching is energy work, undercharging taints the energy work too. Like I could really try to make that argument today, right? But I
Mm,
don't want to do any of that. Instead, I'd love to invite you to get really clear inside of yourself. What does my impact look like? So I'll just make up an example here.
okay.
We're launching a social impact exchange program where coaches who serve underserved communities or marginalized communities are invited into the Six Figure Coach Club. Their tuition is waived in exchange for feedback on how what I'm teaching, I'm a privileged white woman, right? On how what I'm teaching actually lands with their audience and functions in their business. So
Mm,
for me, like how can I make the biggest impact? Well, it can be by helping coaches with the potential to impact these communities be able to do so. And so we got really clear on that. And for every, for, and we're going to bring 24 coaches through that fellowship every single year.
mm,
Right. So,
mhm,
and here's what that did. Whew, I feel very different now about what I charge and how we charge and how this is structured because I see exactly how I'm giving back. I've
mhm,
thought that through and there's structure to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not inviting you to model anything that I just shared, but I would love for you to get really clear on what that part of you that would love to just do all of this for free, what structure you will give that part of you so that you're meeting both needs.
Yeah. 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 And there is something in me, even when we were talking about like the part of me that doesn't want to put the price out there, is that I do have people that need sliding scale, right? And I do sort of meet them in that place, or I do sort of make customized programs for them where I'm like, hey, let's do a price that you can afford that feels good for me. It's an integrity. And we meet this many times, right? Or we meet, whatever. And so the part of me around around the like, wishing to just give things sort of away feels better around that. But it's true. There might be something more that it wants to give. And I think there's something for me around creating more courses around energy in the future. And some of them are going to be free offerings, because I have had people email me and say, I'm looking for a psychic mentor, an energy, like I can't afford anything right now. Like, would you be willing to do that? And
Mhm.
so, I've been like, well, maybe we could do some sort of work trade, situation, or maybe, but there is a desire in me to get more momentum, to give more opportunities and resources for people,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Through, I think, programs and courses and things like that. It's just all in the works, and I need to get like 4 VAs.
For the record, this is the second time in this hour we've been talking that you've said you need 4 VAs. So I'm
Oh
going
my
to keep
God.
my eye on you. And so, so as we come to a close, here's what's coming up for me.
Mhm,
We haven't really resolved this issue around when and how you share the price.
mhm.
I want to invite you to just do some writing or meditating or processing around it so
Okay.
that whatever decision you make, and it could be taking my invitation to test it to then really see how it lands,
Mhm,
whatever you need to do to make that a conscious choice for you and your values rather than, oh, I'm not supposed to share my prices, or, oh, Dallas shares her prices and she told me to, so now I'm going to do it. Let's really get you to an informed and empowered decision about that so you know why you're choosing to or not choosing to.
mhm, mhm. Okay.
Great. And then the other piece is testing out the checkbox on the paid readings, this new discovery session funnel, right?
Mhm,
So that you can have discovery sessions with people who are coming in already knowing they want to do some ongoing work.
mhm,
And then
mhm,
lastly, if you're open to it, spending some time visioning or planning what your impact plan is so that there's structure around it. And I'll tell you why. You said something a few minutes ago that I just am not able to shake off because I want to take a stance for your growth and time and bandwidth and energy. You said it's hard to keep track of all of these different payment plans with all of these different people. And I thought, what's she doing a bunch of different custom payment plans all the time for people? So I just want you to build a little bit more, put some more thought into the exceptions that you want to make so it can be more structured, so it's not an energy drain for you.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah. I love tasks. I'm
Oh,
like
good.
I'm like, give me 5 things to do and I can definitely do it. It's just yeah. Yeah, I can definitely do some brainstorming and some soul writing stuff and see if I can get clear on those pieces that feel a little murky still at the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah.
Great. Great. Okay. So how are you feeling? Our goal was clarity.
Mhm.
How are you
Mhm.
feeling at the end of our session here?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, it feels helpful. Some of the first things are just sort of little switches, and it feels good to have a couple different routes
Mm-hmm.
because there is a little bit more variables sort of with my business. So it's like, how do I have routes that are simple and
Mm-hmm.
easy? And I'm not doing a million things, but I'm also making sure I'm meeting these couple different routes in the right way rather than just sort of trying to paste the same process. So it feels good to have that. And yet, again, my question is always like, how can I make this easier? And having someone do a checkbox is like the easiest possible
Right?
thing. Yeah. To just know, like, okay, cool. You got the checkbox. We'll set up another call. I'll
Mm-hmm.
do it like this. Oh, someone you heard that you love, like loves this work, you're already in, you know the prices, great. Let's talk about which program and why.
Yeah,
So
great.
that feels really, really helpful and clear versus me like staring at the discovery call kind of inside the coach club thing and being like, okay, do I use all of it? Do I try to just do an intuitive reading beforehand to feel like what's needed?
Right. Right.
So
Good.
yeah.
Okay, good. I feel clear about that too. There's some work to do just around your like around the pricing conversation we had, but that's just
Mm-hmm.
you feeling into your own values and how you want to run your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, what I'm taking away from this conversation is the importance of being decisive and also understanding that most decisions we make at some point down the road in our business are going to change,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're growing and gathering more information. So with more information, we can often make better decisions. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's my parting thought for you is I think we have a good starting point here. You're going to do some thinking and it can all be a moving target. You're allowed to change your mind, which is not always comforting, but that's what I'm going to leave you with.
I'll take it.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for coming on this show. This was a really fun conversation for me. So I hope you got a lot of value as well.
I did. Thank you, Dallas.
You're welcome. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week.